All right, my friends, welcome to episode 434 of Prof and Dev Play Games. My name is Larry the Prof, and I am at Prof Plays Games on Blue Sky. Anthony is still in Japan. That guy is on a very long vacation. So this week we have two friends. I got Chris and Travis will join us in a little bit, and we are here talking about Helldivers 2 and what makes Helldivers 2 so great. But first, why don't we say hi to Chris? How you doing, Chris?
Hey, I'm doing pretty well. Had a good day. Went to Mission Bay, did some paddleboarding.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Went to a barbecue. I typically don't eat meat, but I made an exception today, and it was delicious brisket. So,
oh man, if you're gonna make an exception, brisket's fucking the way to go. Oh man, that is good stuff. So, Helldivers 2. It's a game by Arrowhead. It's published by Sony. It's a follow-up to Helldivers 2015, which was very different. It was a top-down shooter. I don't know if you played the original Helldivers at all.
Nope, I have not.
All right. I played it for probably 3-4 hours. It was the same idea, bugs, automatons. There's a third enemy as well. I can't remember the third enemy type, to be honest, but I'll look it up and mention it later. But they switched to the third person behind the shoulder kind of gameplay for Helldivers 2, and I didn't think much of it before it came out. I don't know if you were anticipating it or was it on your radar at all?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No. Just some friends told me about the game, and they're good people to get recommendations from and take them seriously. I'm glad I did.
Yeah, do you know how many hours you put into Helldivers 2? You have a count on Steam probably, right?
Yeah, I'll have to check that.
Mine's
about level 38.
You're level 38? Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, for reference.
I'm about level 20. I've put about 31 hours into it.
74 hours for me.
Dang, okay, it's about double me. Probably, I think our mutual friend Kartik probably has even more hours than that.
Yeah, by an order of magnitude, probably.
He's a much higher level than we are. But it's for me at least, I have a friend who works at Sony who's like, hey, do you want a code for this game? I was like, sure, I'll check it out. I was not, it wasn't high on my list. I was deep into Final Fantasy at that time, and I just loaded it up to check it out and played with, I think it was Kartik and Travis originally, and I just loved how funny it was. It's just hilarious. I would always fucking blow up each other or, try to move toward the mission and then just disastrously fuck it up and barely get out alive. Oh my God, so good.
That's probably the best part of the game is just holding on by the skin of your teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
Barely making it out.
Yeah, or the fucking when the chopper comes and it lands on you and everyone else loads up and takes off and you're left behind, or someone throws down a tactical strike and blows you up while they're getting on the chopper to get away. Oh my God,
I hate that.
it's happened
to
me.
People.
Yes, please stop griefing your team. Oh my gosh. I think that's the other thing that's come across to me is playing online with random strangers on most games. I don't like. People are either take things way too seriously or I don't know, are kind of dicks.
Yeah.
But not so much here. I don't know what your experience has been with randos.
No, yeah, that's actually another part of Helldivers that's amazing and unusual. So, little background on me. I'm not a huge gamer. I was back in the day. I really got into Counter-Strike, and let's say my GPA suffered in college.
Oh, hell yeah, same.
So I made a good decision, I think, for the rest of my life, and I just stopped playing video games. And then I play them here and there. But I don't have a lot of recent experience with like newer games as a result. Let's see, what were we talking about? How did I get on this tangent?
I forgot how you got on that tangent because I was following the tangent.
You're
about randos, playing with randos online.
Oh yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, usually people you play with online, they tend to be dicks, obnoxious, whatever. But the Helldivers 2 community is overall really good. Have had a couple jerks here and there, or witnessed two teammates getting into it with each other.
Oh, really? What did that look like?
One guy thought the other guy wasn't being a great teammate for some reason or another, and then he just walked up to him and like shot him in the face, basically.
Jesus.
And that was right at the end, so he couldn't take off and finish the mission with us, and that really pissed off the guy who got shot in the face. I was running I was hosting the game, so I booted the guy who team killed the other one.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, that kind of thing doesn't happen. I think the worst part about playing with other people in Helldivers, my opinion, is when people don't talk on the mic. I understand there's good reasons why people won't talk, but I really like talking to other people. That makes the gameplay way better.
Well, it's so much easier to communicate. I know that has like the ping system, so you can kind of point things out. But for the most part, on multiplayer games, I do not talk. I don't talk to random people ever at all, except for Helldivers 2. I almost always talk, and I've just met great people. Very, very weird. That is not my experience with online multiplayer games, and especially not online multiplayer games where you're a shooty.
Yeah.
Usually the worst of the worst, in my view.
Yeah, and friendly fire is always on.
And it's on, exactly. And it's not really, for the most part, my experiences with friendly fire have just been hilarious and not usually like, blood boiling. So that's been nice.
Right. Yeah. You have definitely roasted me with the flamethrower many times.
Yes. And it's always on accident. I'm just like spraying and praying, basically. That fucking flamethrower. I love that thing. So I looked it up. The original game had 3 hostile enemy races. It was the Bugs, the Cyborgs, and then a third one called the Illuminates. And
there we go.
Cannot remember what the Illuminates look like. But I assume that's coming to Helldivers at some point.
Yeah, I have been convinced that I thought it would have happened by now already.
Yeah.
I've been convinced that they've been setting it up. They like the AI in the game or the non-playing characters, NPCs, right? They'll say stuff like, we don't know who's sending the automatons, and they like hint at like maybe there's another species. But
right, got it.
They haven't brought it in yet.
That's the other piece.
The map is set up. Sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead. Keep going.
Set up, yeah. Like there's a spot right at the bottom of the map for another species to fight or another front to open up in the war.
Right, something to come in. That's the other part of this game that's been interesting for me, at least, because I think it was last year. I know you don't follow a lot of gaming conferences, but there was a PlayStation showcase, and it was basically a showcase about live service games for Sony games. And it was just like, I don't know, a game after game after game that wasn't very exciting. And they still haven't come out yet, but this is the first one that's come out. And I think they're doing live service so well where it's not just the battle pass and that whole thing, which we can get into, but it's like that meta narrative. And even if you aren't on for a couple weeks and you jump back in, you still get the credits and the medals and stuff, which is cool. And Travis just hopped in. Travis, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right. How are you two doing?
Good. Can you pick up your mic a little bit? It's pretty quiet.
Can I? I don't know.
There
maybe.
You go. That's much better. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll get closer to it.
So we were talking about how great Helldivers 2 is, and want to get your take. What do you think?
Wow, that's a very open-ended question.
We start with softballs around here.
I thoroughly enjoy it. It shines most when with a group, and predominantly I think it shines more when you have a group of people that you know. Whether or not you're coordinated or not is immaterial. I think it's just more fun when you go into it with your own group as opposed to picking up a bunch of randoms, because it feels like, from my experience being predominantly a solo player, as a solo player, the game is obviously geared towards group play, and then when you get the randoms in there, you just get some people that either don't know what they're doing or it just feels like you're pushed to try and figure things out. But with you have a group of people that you know, it's a massive amount of fun.
We were talking about how that fun comes from fucking shit up and like accidentally, not like griefing so much, but just like really accidentally blowing yourself up or your teammate up. I remember the early days just being so funny. How awful I was specifically at the game. Have you found that as well?
I mean, I think it's a lot of things, right? It's trying to figure it out. It's how over the top the game is. I mean, I don't know if you made this in comparison already, but it's Starship Troopers. It's our generation Starship Troopers as a video game, right? And that movie was so over the top, so blatantly just cheesy, but it leaned into it to where it made that movie fun. And the game is the same way, right? It leans into the cheesiness of the narrative and just goes hard with it. And because of that, you have to respect it and have fun. And then when you get into the game and start playing, that I don't really want to call it cheesiness there, but that experience kind of spills over, and mayhem ensues, and some of the just over the top things that you get, like the hell bomb thing, right? Like the first time that I blew that up on when we were doing a mission, and I dropped that in the middle of the thing, and I triggered, like, what the heck is it doing? We're like, oh god, let's run away, and we all bolted and scattered to the wind, and this just massive explosion goes off. We're like, holy! And we did it once with Chris, you were there, and Kartik was with us, and someone didn't make it out. Or someone
was me. I think it was me. Okay, I got blown to shit.
I just remember, and we were all just laughing our asses off at that because it was so hilarious. The explosion was immense and mind-blowing, but at the same time it was just hilarious that one of us just kind of twirled our thumbs like, hey, what's this giant ticking thing in the middle of this thing? Let me just stand here and look at it for a minute. And whoops, there you go.
It took a couple seconds for it to register what was happening, and then I turned to run, and I definitely didn't get away quick enough. Chris, you've seen Starship Troopers, right?
Yes, and read the book.
Oh, dang. Okay, and read the book.
There's a book? There's something new every day.
You uncultured heathen.
The book is great. The book is good.
But I was thinking about how the over-the-topness with, like, the fighting for democracy or whatever kind of spilled over into the PSN account controversy. And I think, Travis, you're playing on PS5, right?
Yep.
Yeah, me too. Chris, you're the only one playing on Steam, right?
Correct.
So what was your take on that whole PSN thing? Were you aware of it?
I was aware. I unfortunately haven't really been able to play much around that time, and since then, and so it hadn't really sunk in that was going to happen. I wasn't a really big fan of it, and I was really glad when there was an outcry, and then Sony rescinded the requirement. On the other hand, I was just thinking, like, if all these gamers who got really upset about having to make a login would email their Congress people about climate change or something, like, maybe we could actually get something done here.
To funnel that energy into something more helpful for the world, maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah. I am glad that it was interesting to me because Sony, I think for the most part, maybe Travis, you would agree or not, has a lot of hubris, and that when they're in the lead, they just do their own thing. But they kind of walked that back really quickly.
Well, this is the thing. I love. I've been a PlayStation fanboy since PS1. But I've always told people when it came to the consoles, pick the one where your friends are on it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. But then every once in a while, Sony just thinks that they're so much better than everyone else that they pull shit like this. And I think, and it's kind of hilarious that no one over there was sat there and said to the executive team, was like, hey, do you realize that PC gamers don't buy your shit? Like, they don't care. Right? And so if you try and put this on them, they're just going to basically give you the middle finger and say, okay, if this is what you're going to do to us, then F you, we're out. And this is the one area where Microsoft, I think, has figured out, like, hey, since we came from Windows, they've learned that they need to embrace that community if they want to survive. Granted, their consoles are now having issues. They're not selling them, but they're having other issues. That's a whole other conversation. But at least Microsoft has learned, if we're going to do this, we need to do this for everyone, not just our console, and think that we can force people to do things that we want them to do. There's probably more to it than that because it's, again, Microsoft, and they probably already have everyone's freaking information from Windows and shit. Yeah. But Sony just seems to think that they can push the gaming community around because, let's be fair, they've done that to PlayStation owners for how many years?
Yeah.
Backwards compatibility in the PS5 is a joke, quite frankly.
Why? I don't have a disc version. The discs don't work from PS4?
No, they do, but what about PS3, PS2? Like,
oh, well, it's a different architecture, but okay.
Right, but even with PS4, I think there was an issue where a lot of PS3 games didn't play in the PS4.
Well, they didn't. They don't at all. They only had it over the PS Now service.
But that's what I'm getting at. And it's kind of like a Nintendo approach. Like, oh, we gave you a new console. You want the old shit? No, we give you the new stuff. Forget the old stuff. And that's where Microsoft has kind of figured out, like, oh no, people, they want what they want, and they're going to find a way to get their hands on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Nintendo's been pretty good when they've had the same media moving forward. You know, the game or the Wii, you could play GameCube. The Wii, you could play Wii.
Right.
But the Switch, obviously, it's a cartridge-based thing. So.
But Nintendo is still like
they'll charge you for their old games.
Yeah, they're screwing you on the old stuff. And anyways, but point being is Sony thinks that they can push people around because, to be frank, they have to their console community for years, and we've just lapped it up.
Yep.
And they're finding out the hard way that the PC community they don't play that game.
Well, the PC, I mean, people like Chris, 60% of the sales of this game were on PC. So when they started to refund and Valve was like, what? PSN doesn't work in those countries? We're automatically refunding all those countries, no matter how much time they played. That must have hurt their bottom line pretty significantly on this game.
And kudos to Valve on that front, right?
Yeah.
And then Valve, unfortunately, Arrowhead and Valve both kind of got screwed in this. Right?
Because Arrowhead specifically, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because they're caught in the middle of Sony thinking they can do this stuff, and the gaming community being like, no, you can't. Yeah. So
I read somewhere, and I don't know if this is true. Maybe Chris, you know this or not, but I read that when you do a refund on Steam, that Valve refunds the 70% or refunds. No, you get all your money back. Never mind. I misread that. Yeah. All good. I'm going to take that back. I'm going to cut this out of the podcast when it comes out.
All right.
So, Chris, thinking about the Battle Pass and the whole live service thing, how have you interacted with that? Have you purchased each one with the as you've gone, or you kind of not dug into the new weapons and stuff?
No, I have I think that this game was, I don't remember how much it was, $40 or something.
$40, yeah, 40, yeah.
Yeah, that's fairly affordable, for a really good game. It's definitely not as much as other blockbuster games. I feel like they deserve some reward for their hard work and for keeping the game fun and fresh. So yeah, I bought a couple of those. What are they called?
The War Bonds. The War Bonds.
War Bonds. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Bought a couple of the War Bonds, and honestly, like if you're really into the game, it's kind of important because you get some really good upgrades in those War Bonds.
Some of those weapons are really good, and I wonder, I'm curious why there hasn't been the pay-to-play kind of call about that. I guess it's because you can get the money to buy them within the game pretty easily, but geez.
You have to grind it out. But
but it doesn't feel like it's a lot of grinding, does it? Or does it take, I don't remember it taking a long time to get 1,000.
It depends on how the community does on the big, what are they called? Mm-hmm. Missions or whatever they're called. Now I'm drawing a massive blank.
The major orders.
There we go. Yeah.
For either of you, any of the new weapons stand out as just your favorites?
Well, you got me onto the Eruptor.
Oh my god, that thing is fucking sweet.
I really like it. Yeah. Karnak told me that they changed it so that there's no shrapnel from it anymore, and that made it less effective.
Oh, that's sort of annoying.
I don't know. It's still been working for me, but I was going to try to compare it to some of the other weapons and see what I think.
What about you, Travis?
I haven't played in a few weeks because we were doing the Final Fantasy 12, and then I've been in Stellar Blade.
Yeah.
The one that I really liked was the one that shot the bolts of lightning, and I can't remember the name of it. Because it basically shot electrical charges, and then it would skip to multiple ones.
Arc thrower.
Arc thrower, there we go.
Yep.
But then I guess they nerfed it because I didn't realize this while playing it, but there was a way to fast charge it. So like the first charge took a full second, then after that, each initial one you could do like a half second charge and still get the effects of a full, but they nerfed it to where you now need a full 1 second charge every time. So that kind of took the fun out of it a little bit.
I don't know if you saw the news recently that the CEO, I think his name is Johan Hilsted?
Yeah.
He stepped down, well, I mean, the quote-unquote stepped down as CEO, but he's moved over to the chief creative officer. But he was talking about, he said on Twitter or some social media, basically like, we're going to try to do better about whenever our community finds the fun in a weapon, we immediately take it away. Maybe like the shrapnel or whatever, nerfing some of the weapons. So I wonder how that's going to go moving forward.
This is, and it's not just Arrowhead. I've noticed it with a lot of developers. The community finds something that's a ton of fun. Is it a little overpowered? Maybe. But instead of bringing things up to a level to where there's other competing options, their initial response is, let's make it worse than what it was.
Yeah, dragging the thing down as opposed to bringing other things up. That's a good point.
And in this game, the amount of, like, they kept nerfing, like, the amount of spawn rates and all the other stuff. It's like, well, if you had left everything at that power point that it was, which was quote-unquote overpowered, left the spawn rates at that point and then brought the other stuff up to it, I think the community, I personally would have had a lot more fun with it.
Yeah.
Instead of you taking away, because part of the fun with this is just, the sheer mayhem that ensues and just killing thousands of bugs or bots and just having a blast doing it and seeing all the randomness and the ragdoll effects and all the other stuff that happens while doing it.
Yeah, because I think specifically it's not PvP. So if anything is OP, it's just, I don't know, just adds to the fun. Anything on your side, Chris, has been nerfed to the point where you're like, oh man, I don't want to use that anymore?
Nope. No.
Oh,
I like it all.
Cool.
There's a lot of there's just so many stratagems, so many primaries, secondaries, grenades. There's so many different ways you could put a strategy together that there's always something to play with. There's always something fun to do.
Yeah, for sure. It's a nice pop in, pop out kind of game where you can jump in for a time or two. Like I'd see you all online and I'd jump in for a game and then an hour and a half later I'm still playing.
And I think that links to the game's the playability and why it's so much fun is if you've got 20 minutes, you can pop in, run a mission, bam, you have a blast, you do it, you're done, you're out, you go. Right? Whereas most other games demand more of your time and attention, but a 20-minute session is still a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and
totally.
It doesn't. I think it's just a smart game design overall.
So you two are much better versed gamers than I am. Do you guys think that this is like a renaissance for co-op games?
I would want to point to more than just one game. Are there other games that are kind of lighting up the co-op? Oh, you know what? Maybe what was the game that you played, Chris, with your colleagues that then I picked up?
Lethal Company.
That's it, Lethal Company. Yeah.
Yeah.
That stands out. Oh, and so does Power World, to be honest.
And the finals is it's team against team, but that's co-op in that sense.
Yeah, that's a good question. I always think about the pandemic as like being the renaissance of online co-op or whatever, because people were stuck at home and Among Us took off. There were some other like horror VR games, and I wonder if we're still on the long tail of that.
Yeah,
but it does.
Galactic.
That's right.
Too, right?
Yep. And people absolutely adore that game. I haven't touched that one yet, but people love that. Yeah, I think I don't know. For me, it's a couple of things, but one, like the prevalence of like niche games where people, it draws a specific community together and like draws them together really hard. Like Helldivers 2 is a perfect example. It's just like the perfect game for a number of people, just like Deep Rock Galactic is. But also, I feel like just the ubiquity of video games being something that you can do with friends. Like it's way more normalized, or way, it's not just single player or even like an MMO where you're alone in your room or whatever. It feels way more of a social thing. Even if people are playing single player games, they'll get on Discord and play single player games together, etc. What do you think, Trev?
I mean, a renaissance, I don't know. I wonder if co-op or even multiplayer games never really felt like they fell off for me. But then you're talking to somebody who played how many years in MMOs, so. But I do see. I think what it more is, instead of a renaissance, is more. Well, I guess maybe that would be a renaissance. Is more of just mainstream acceptance. Because if you go back 5 years, 6 years, the co-op thing was kind of the nerdy way of playing it, right? It was the people doing the MMOs and those types of things, and you're like, oh, they're this weird offshoot of gamers. The real gamers are the ones that do FPS, maybe not team up or fighting games or something like that. And nowadays with that, and I think, Larry, you hit on it with the pandemic kind of lent people to saying, hey, games can be more than just this single player experience, and it made it to where maybe it's more of a mainstream acceptance than what it used to be. But
and I think part of that too is like, because of that, Travis, and maybe Chris, let me know what you think about this, but because of that, you're more likely to find someone who does play games or is willing to check it out, as opposed to before. Maybe you'd be like, hey, you want to check this game out with me? And they'd be like, I don't play games. I don't have something, or maybe I don't have a console, or that's just not in my vocabulary. What do you think, Chris? Like non-gamers in your life, but maybe that dabble. Do you find that more often happens?
That might almost describe me. But there's definitely a lot of non-gamers in my life who just are not gonna play a game with me. Mm-hmm. My wife is a good example. She's tried a few times to play games with me, but she just can't really get into it.
Yeah. The thing that I think holds people back, and I was thinking about it the other day when, I don't know if you saw this, Travis, Chris, you probably didn't, but there was a Sony presentation where they're talking about like the next 10 years of gaming, and they had this bizarre ass fucking controller that no one would ever play with, as like the future of gaming. But it made me start thinking about how like the standard video game controller is so, I don't know, it's like second nature to me, but like, and us. But people who don't play games, that's such a barrier of entry to figure out dual analog sticks and all these fucking buttons. I wonder if that holds people back.
Yeah, I can see that.
Especially on a computer where you have the whole fucking keyboard is like the buttons. There's way more buttons.
But WASD is 99% of what you do.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah. Well, Chris was talking before you came on about how in college he played a lot of Counter-Strike, which is where I think of the WASD. In fact, my WASD keys are fucking worn out on my keyboard here.
Yeah, Counter-Strike. Oh, my God.
Everyone lost some part of their life to that game in college.
Can confirm. Yes. Beta 3.2.
Oh my God! We were way earlier than that.
I think
1.6 is when we came in, I believe.
I think I was like 0.6. I don't remember the old versions.
I remember 1.6 very clearly, and I don't believe, Travis, that you played later than I did. I can't fathom that.
I started. No, because I was doing TFC in '99.
Team Fortress
God, I'm
Classic?
dating myself. Team Fortress.
Yeah.
The original.
Yeah.
I guess it's TFC now. And I didn't find Counter-Strike until, I want to say, late winter quarter, early spring quarter. So that would have been March, roughly March of 2000.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's when I was playing, and that was 1.6, so I don't think...
Was it? Jeez, I can't remember.
Definitely. I'm going to go Google it just to make sure that the audience isn't yelling at me later.
I thought it was like 3 point something, but I could be totally off basis.
Counter-Strike Beta 1.6, let's see when that was.
Point being, we were in the beta version when it was free to play, and you had to have Half-Life to be able to play it.
Yep.
Oh, interesting. I'm seeing beta 1.0 in June, beta 5.0 in December, both of 1999. That's wrong, but I guess, I don't know. Internet can't be wrong, right?
It can be, but I remember playing 3.6 or something like that, and then it pivoted hard. Anyways, the point being, I mean, if we look at the pandemic, like even the three of us, we started doing the Thursday night gaming with Rocket League.
Hell yeah.
Right? And then that morphed into, like, there was a couple other friends that played with it, and then, like, Anthony would be like, I'm going to be on, but I'm going to play my game and be chatting with you guys on Discord while you guys do this, and I'm going to do my thing. So it did kind of create that atmosphere of, hey, let's get on and play a game of some sort. So
yeah,
it's interesting. I think, like I said, I think now multiplayer games are a little less nerdy. And the other thing is, like, this one is more approachable, right? Because if it's only 4 people, you can't really, the chances of you having someone being, like, yelling at you for messing something up is much slimmer. Whereas something, you know, with a more bigger team base, like, I would be scared to go play Counter-Strike right now. Like, I haven't touched that in how many years, and I'm afraid to go touch it and have some 12-year-old start cussing me out because I suck at the game and trying to get back into it.
I thought haven't we played recently, Chris? We played one evening,
yeah,
I thought.
We played Counter-Strike 2, didn't we?
Yeah, Counter-Strike 2, yeah.
I hear cheating is pretty rampant in that game. I don't know.
Huh. I remember
I had fun.
Yeah, I had fun too. I don't remember getting yelled at, but also remember feeling pretty rusty. And now my mouse is a fucking trackball mouse, so that's not as wonderful to play FPSs.
I mean, I haven't touched it in years, so I don't know. But I do know I tried to get into Dota and League of Legends, and this was years ago.
No, bad.
And Jesus, the level of just hatred to someone being completely new. I'm like, going, dude, first freaking game, man. Like, all I've done is play the computer, and I'm trying to figure this out. So instead of just cussing me out and telling me I suck, how about you tell me what I should be doing so I can learn? And yeah, so but with Helldivers, you know, the stupid shit's entertaining. When someone messes up, you laugh at them.
That's the best fucking part, man, is when you're with a team that's just like, this shit is funny. Like, don't do it repeatedly and on purpose, but the accidental shit, when it fucks everything up, is hilarious.
Because I was going to say, you and Kartik have gotten into it a couple of times.
We have, yeah, for sure.
And Chris and I are just sitting there going like, okay, dude, you guys do your thing. We're going to go over here.
Well, I think there's in general, I think there's a mismatch when people take games less seriously or more seriously, and they're on the same team. I think that can lead to some of that stuff. It's fun when you're all at the same level of taking it seriously or not, you know, and that varies from night to night or whatever too. So, you know,
I don't know about Chris, but for me, I don't take that game seriously just because it's just so over the top that I'm like, I'm just here to have fun and blow shit up.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I like to win. I like to, you know, accomplish the mission, but yeah, that's a little secondary to just having fun with my friends.
I remember every once in a while when we were playing Rocket League Thursdays, Chris would be very quiet. He's like, if I talk, I can't focus on playing.
Yeah, no. I could not multitask worth a damn.
Yeah, exactly.
I just sucked at the game, so I didn't care.
Dude, I've put 330 hours into Rocket League, second only to Team Fortress 2, which was like 380 hours. And I suck at Rocket League, you know? And I still just find enjoyment with that. It's kind of crazy.
And confirm.
Thank you. Yes, let's get it all out there. I suck at Rocket League. It's still. I think that's also a one too. You know, again with the thinking about the seriousness of how the team takes it. Like if there's someone who's like a real try hard and like really taking it very seriously, they can get irritated when someone fucks shit up. But you know, for the most part, we've had. I mean, some of the funniest laughs I had was fucking Rocket League, where Kartik or me would just fucking own goal or just like not really. You know, do something that we should have been doing and just, you know, momentarily hilarious.
Yeah. And remember when we tried rotation for the first time and we just started scoring goals? You're like, you mean we could have been doing this the whole time?
This was like fucking 2 years after we started playing this in the net. We're like, oh, crap. Well, if we actually practiced and thought about this, we would have been way better these last 2 years. God.
Yeah, because we just kept going in a circle the whole time. And rotating it instead of leaving one person in goal, I remember that, and it just started clicking.
It did. It
And that
felt
lasted
good.
like 2 weeks, and then we
did.
stopped doing it.
You're right.
Yep.
100%. Like, this works really well. Yeah, let's. Okay, we stopped. All right.
Yep. Much to my chagrin.
Yeah. Well, you showed us the light, and we were like, "Yep, it's bright."
I made my point. You can only lead a horse to water.
Yes, exactly right. You can't force me to drink. I'm there to fucking just run around and have fun. I don't know. But
Travis mentioned nerdy co-ops of the past, and I just wanted to give a little shout out to Star Trek Bridge Crew.
Oh yeah,
That
man.
was an awesome nerdy co-op game. The big flaw there was VR just doesn't have a big enough player base, and so it was hard to fill out the Bridge Crew sometimes.
Did we play that before pandemic, or was it during the pandemic?
I think it was during.
Oh, okay. God, was it really? Wow, that feels like so long ago. But yeah, I enjoyed that. It took a while to get the controls down, but that felt good because each person had a task, right? And you're trying to like complete your tasks so that that took more, I guess, proficiency, right, and logistics.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Then Rocket League just hit gas and hit ball and pray.
Well, that was your strategy.
That was absolutely. It was not just my strategy. It still is my strategy.
Whether or not that was what we should have been doing is up to debate.
Oh no, there's no debate. I should not have been doing
it.
that. There is no debate. I should not have been doing that. But in Helldivers is the same thing. It's like the 30 seconds of fun on loop. But there's, I don't know. We've all been playing shooters forever, so there's a bit of like muscle memory to that where it makes me a little better than I am at Rocket League. But I don't know, not much. But I'm not pro. Just the point is to get together with friends and have fun.
One other thing I love about Helldivers 2 is the social commentary on authoritarianism.
Yeah, tell us more about that.
Well, again, like when you talk to the NPCs in the game, you get some little gems. Like I don't remember, but the gist of it was they're like, I did all this work. Oh no, here's what it was. I reported somebody for saying something like against the war effort, and like the best part about that was like I get free healthcare this month or something like that.
Oh my god. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I do think they have a narrative. For a game that doesn't have a ton of narrative, it feels like it has a very coherent narrative that is just well done.
Like I said, they found their niche and they just leaned into it and they just went full bore for it. So.
Oh yeah, man. I feel like that it's like lightning in a bottle. They hit the right time. People were looking for. It was a dry period. It was the right price point, and Sony deciding we're going to do a dual launch on PS5 and PC. Just smart in every way. I mean, so cool. Anything else about Helldivers 2?
I mean, if you haven't tried it, I highly recommend it.
Yes, I hope we've convinced you.
It is a shit ton of fun, even with Sony's poor handling, we'll say. Arrowhead did a good job. Well, hopefully they continue to do a good job. We'll see with the changing of the guard with the CEO and everything, how that continues to grow. But so far, they've done a really good job. So I say kudos to Arrowhead. And like I said, if you haven't tried it, grab it. It's well worth it.
Thanks for listening. If you like us, please rate us on your podcast service of choice. And we will be back next week with the dev. He'll be back from Japan and probably still very, very jet lagged. Oh, man. All right, folks, we will see you next week.